lower, the Dow dropping 152 points, the NASDAQ Composite down 2, and the S&P 500 losing 10. More at Town Hall.
The left, for months now,
one by one,
have been begging for a civil war.
Every caller gets their say.
We got to stop and not put these officers in situations where they feel like they have to overreact.
And whether you agree,
we have to assume some responsibility, because I'm a black man,
or disagree,
I think you're politically wrong.
I do not need athletes to tell me.
You're invited to join the conversation.
Thank you for canceling all your games. Now I get it.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Clouds early make way for some peaks of sunshine as the day goes on. I think the afternoon looks nice, really, with a high of 76. A very isolated sprinkle or light shower possible this afternoon, but most of us stay dry. Partly cloudy and dry tonight, down to 60 for the low. Tomorrow, rain chances are higher. Scattered showers around from mid-morning through the afternoon and into the early evening, a high of 72. Big warm-up still on track from Friday into the weekend. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
The latest news.
Nothing happened. The attack was totally successful.
There's a lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president.
Because of that Afghanistan withdrawal, we have damaged our credibility.
He was texting war plans.
Nobody was texting war plans.
Whether it's formerly classified or not, it is very sensitive.
He's a very good man, and he will continue to do a good job.
101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. This hour of Colombo Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
The time to rise has been engaged. We're better, best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song. Your finest hour.
Hello and welcome to Wednesday afternoon here on Colombo and Company on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Got a very busy afternoon for you. Wednesday is also a lot of fun. We'll open up Klose's Kabinet at 3 o'clock. We'll talk to Mark Klose from KC95 and Skip Weber from Weber Chevrolet. Also in the 3 o'clock hour, we're going to be joined by JC Corcoran, who, of course, has the Wayback Machine, brand new show here every weekend on News Talk STL, but also is hosting a very cool event coming up this weekend. So that is going to also be in the 3 o'clock hour. In just a few minutes, we're going to talk to Missouri political insider Rodney Boyd about this new special session that is ruffling some feathers. I'm very much looking forward to this conversation with Rodney. We'll also catch up with Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks tomorrow afternoon to get another perspective on what is happening. But it looks like here just, a couple weeks after the end of the 2025 legislative session that there's going to be another one. And, maybe that sounds good to some people, like, oh, good, a chance to maybe get to some of the issues that they were unable to get to in the regular session. But not sure if these are the issues that are the most important for them to be coming back for. So we're going to get all the details from Rodney here in just a moment. Also, as we go through the afternoon today, there's a new report out regarding Biden and the auto pen. there has been a watchdog group that has done an investigation and says that they believe that multiple pieces of legislation regarding energy bills, environmental bills, things like that were not only signed by AutoPen, but by somebody besides Biden, but that Joe Biden, there's no evidence that he even was aware of these pieces of legislation. So not only was he not signing them, he wasn't even aware of them. So we'll fill you in on that. Judge Janine Pirro was sworn in today as the interim attorney for Washington, D.C., and so we'll cover that a little bit. AOC is fundraising to abolish ICE. There's a lot going on this Wednesday afternoon. And we are going to kick it off with our Missouri political insider, Rodney Boyd, who joins us on the line now to fill us in about this unique development in Jeff City. Rodney, a special session. We've talked about this and its probability, and now it looks like it's going to be a reality. So thank you as always for your time, my friend. And can you let us know what's going on there in the state capitol?
Sure. So Governor Mike Kehoe yesterday issued an official call to the General Assembly to return to Jeff City effective on Monday, June, I believe the 2nd, and they are required to be there from June the 2nd until the 13th to work specifically on 3 areas that he has put in the call. And just for your listeners, I mean, you and I, we live and talk about this, but the general legislative session, it ended on May, actually, it was supposed to end May 17th at 6 p.m., and they were supposed to be out of session until effectively next January.
Yeah.
And the only thing that could change that or amend that is something significantly out of the ordinary, like the governor calling a special session to address issues that he believes merit reconstituting the assembly. And that's what he did. And the 3 areas in his call are pretty straightforward. They are subsidies for stadium subsidies, specifically relating to an effort to keep in the state of Missouri 2 professional franchises, the Kansas City Chiefs football team and the Royals. And for a lot of people say, well, what is this about? And never heard of this idea because we live on the eastern half of the state. For the better part of over a year or so, the governor and the people, effectively the legislature of Kansas, has offered a pretty interesting set of incentives to both those Western domicile teams to move their facilities and their teams out of Missouri into the state of Kansas. And Kansas has tied their funding to some of their marijuana tax revenues and other revenues, and have basically said to the owners of both teams, hey, you're playing in stadiums that were built in the 70s, they're dated, they're old. Come over here, let's build some new stadiums. Half of your fan base or some significant portion of your fan base is already constituted by residents from Kansas. The literal difference in between Kansas, Missouri, and Kansas City is going across the street.
Right.
Called state line.
Yeah. By come over here, you mean like literally just go 5 miles down the road.
No. Literally, I mean, literally just go across the road.
Right.
State line road.
Yeah.
When you cross that street, you are literally in Kansas. So the Kansas folks have put an offer on the table. And initially there was a local effort in Kansas City to see if they could pass a local initiative that would give enough incentives to keep the teams there. That local tax initiative, it failed. The local voters said, nope, not interested in this particular approach. We're not doing it. That left the only sort of monetary offer on the table, that was being the state of Kansas offer. So Governor Kehoe and some legislative leaders from Kansas City prior to session met with both ownership groups and said, hey, wait a minute. Let us see if we can put something on the table. It might not be as, it might not be dollar for dollar, but give us a shot. And to that end, there were conversations during this last legislative ordinary session, and there was an effort at the end of session, but it did not pass in the Senate. The House passed the incentive package to try to keep the Chiefs and the Royals in focus in Missouri. The governor felt it was important enough because time is of the essence. At some point, these team owners and the leagues, respectively, Kansas wants a response. Do you want to offer or not? So this special session, in part, is an effort to put some package together to offer both team ownership groups funding to stay in Missouri.
So, Rodney, let me just pause real quick.
Yeah,
just
please,
to be clear on
absolutely.
something. You mentioned that there was a vote in the Kansas City area where the citizens that will be most impacted by this situation were asked the question: is it worth higher taxes or government subsidies and all of this to keep the stadium in Missouri? And the people over there said no. And yet we're still moving forward with something through a different venue in order to try to get that done. Is that correct?
Yeah. So
Okay.
let me just add this caveat. I don't know all the details of the package that was proposed, the local tax package. I just know I assumed it was going to pass because these are the hometown fans, right?
Right.
And when it failed, I heard from a number of people they didn't like the way it was constituted, they didn't like the way it was done, and so they voted no. And I remember asking some local politicians there, will you all sort of take the messages and bring it back? And they said, look, probably not so quickly because, once people say no, tweaking around the edges, you'd have to be a substantive change. Well, that then put a lot of pressure on the state. In particular, at the time, we still had Governor Parson, and he jumped up and said, wait a minute, we got to do everything we can. If the city couldn't figure it out and the county couldn't figure it out, Kansas City and Jackson County, the state ought to do something. And that was sort of what led the then Lieutenant Governor Kehoe to get involved with leaders from the state side to say, what can we do? But you're right. I mean, the voters of Kansas, if you Google it, they voted down whatever that proposal was to keep those two teams.
58% no to 42% yes. I just looked it up.
Yes. Yeah. And so now, if, quite honestly, and this is an assumption, if there was no incentive package from the state, meaning that then the only offer that the teams are considering is to move out of the state. And, we on this side of the state, St. Louisans, we know what it's like to lose NFL teams twice, right? We lost the Cardinals and we lost the Rams. Now, we have had, a backfield of a professional soccer team, so we're still a 3, major league team town. We bounced back pretty well. I think there's a consideration that if Kansas City was to lose, it's only 2 sports teams. They don't have a hockey team. And so they don't have a male MLS team. It could be devastating not only for them but for the overall state.
But economy. I think that's really important because of how close it is, and we've even discussed this, Rodney. It's even more of a community or united or closer than the border of St. Louis and Illinois. It's literally, like you said, across the street.
Literally, if you've ever been to Kansas City,
I have.
If you were heading, north on State Line Road, okay, and you forgot something in Missouri, and you made a U-turn. While you made that U-turn to go back, you're now in Kansas.
Right. So the reason I wanted to highlight that and bring that up is because I understand the idea. I understand that this means that the revenues and the taxes and all of that's generated by these teams will now go to the state of Kansas. However, there's still a very bustling community in Kansas City, Kansas, while the teams are in Missouri. So when you say that all that money could be really bad for the Kansas City area, how much, because all the teams will still be there. They're just going to be, like we said, across the street, and there's still going to be all of those people in the Kansas City area and all of that travel and all of those, where I understand that the big money that's raised from the teams being in the state is going to suffer, but help me understand how much that would impact Kansas City, Missouri
let
itself.
Let me confess, I'm not the expert on that.
Because I don't know.
You know,
and I don't know that it really, I don't know that I believe that it would. I mean, I know it would be bad for the state in general, but I do know that there are businesses that on the Kansas side of Kansas City are doing very well with the teams being in Missouri. So, I don't know. It's
this state line issue is significant. I've seen it from outside of not living there, but I've seen it when companies like AMC and other companies that have been rooted in Missouri moved their headquarters to Kansas. They took the jobs over there. They took the tax revenue. And I know that it caused a lot of consternation with friends of mine who lived in Kansas City. And so there was considered a border war. And so there was all these efforts to stop Missouri businesses from relocating in Kansas and allow Kansas City to remain their headquarters and remain the place where their employees worked, whether they lived in Kansas or Missouri or not. And so this is an old, real fight. And I think part of what the in spite of the local vote, they didn't like that proposal. There's a sense that, hey, we Missourians ought to fight together against Kansas and not let them lure our team away. We ought to do what we can. And I think that's the spirit of what's driving Governor Kehoe and the legislators, Speaker John Patterson, who's from the Lee Summit area. That's their fight. Their fight is like, hey, when we look back, we need to see a united Missouri front. You guys got our back from St. Louis to Columbia to, Cape Girardeau, whatever. And so I think that's the message. And it's going to be complicated because you got a special session. You got this as a thing, and you've got a real core group of people from that area and around the state that say we're done with funding public stadiums for billionaires, right? So there's that group of people. They live in Kansas City, so they got their voice, they got their representatives. And then, you now layer on a devastating tornado that I think is going to take us half a decade to even figure out what to do with parts of St. Louis that are just gone.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point I wanted to talk to you about it, just riding around with me. I don't think people really understand just how devastating for miles this tornado has and the impact. But the governor saw it, and it was encouraging for me to see Josh Hawley down here and Eric Schmidt down here, and all on the same page. This is definitely. It hasn't gotten the national attention, I believe, Tony, because we didn't have a bunch of deaths. The blessing in this thing was it happened at around 2:45 on a Friday when most kids were at school and folks were just not at home.
Yeah.
So if this thing had happened at 2:45 a.m., we probably have a couple thousand people dead.
I think you're so right that people in our area, even people in the St. Louis community, if they were brought down to the hardest hit places by that tornado, they would be shocked. They don't realize how bad the damage is. Even the people in our community.
The reason why I know you're right is because I've taken about 20 people down there who live less than 5 miles from some of it, and they say to me in my car, "Oh my God,
I had no idea."
Is not what I know.
Yeah.
And so I think, and the governor's saying, so I think we got that. And then remember, at the end of session, there was a little interesting thing where one of the budget bills is not mandatory. House Bill 19 has a lot of projects from around the state. It was passed by the Senate and rejected, not taken up by the House. That sent some senators in an uproar. So there's the other part of the special session.
I was going to say, if you could, Rodney, I cut you off because I think the stadium conversation is such a big one, and I know we only have a few minutes left here, and lots of questions, but we'll have this discussion in the coming weeks. But
we got a couple of weeks.
Mention talk about the other things that are the other issues of this special session. You said there were 3.
Yeah, so you've got the stadium bill.
Yep.
You've got the governor's put in what I believe is a down payment because $25 million is just got to be a deposit on the state's relief fund for the tornado damage, and that's a statewide fund. One of the things that isn't talked about a lot is elements of this tornado hit parts of Branson and Southwest Missouri as well. Not at the F3, F4 level that we got. So there was damage beyond St. Louis. So they put this $25 million component in for tornado relief. And I believe the governor thinks that gives a down payment until we get a real damage assessment then potentially can look at what you can do in the regular budget, start doing that regular budget probably in October. So I think that's what that's about. But that's in the special session as well, acknowledging that the tornado severity is there. And then there's another piece where that bill that didn't pass, which is called House Bill 19, it's a big capital bill, had projects for almost, every part of the state. Some projects were large, some projects were small. It didn't go because a lot of the folks in the House leadership budget side thought it was a bridge too far. Well, you'll see some of that is put in the special session, some of the projects, not all, some of the projects from that bill, and that's designed probably to give some of the senators, including some very important Republican senators, who are very pissed off that it didn't get the House support, to get them during the special session to support the overall three-part components. Now, a lot of stuff going on in this special session. The governor can say this, he can expand the call. What does that mean? That means he can add things to the call. You're going to hear people wanting him to add things. One of the topics you and I talked about, IP reform, other things, right? Add. So I don't know what the governor will do, because he's got to figure out how to navigate bringing people back in an extraordinary session on three areas where there's probably not unanimity on any of the three areas. So you got to thread this process of how you get people's support. But he does have the right as a governor to expand the call. He will have requests from certain people, so he already has to expand the call. He has to figure that out.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he's got 2 weeks to get these three things, which he has said are critical, can't wait for next January, got to be done now. He's got 2 weeks effectively to work his gubernatorial power, so to speak, to get these things across the finish line. I tell you, it'll be difficult. It'll be challenging. It'll be hard. One last piece. Remember, the reason that I was in St. Louis last Friday when the tornado happened and not in Jeff City anticipating coming home at 6 was because the session effectively shut down. Down on Wednesday with
night.
the PQ, the cutting off the debate, and the forcing through of the abortion and the sick leave.
Prop A.
Prop A bills, right? So when those things happen, the place kind of shut down. The House passed a few bills Thursday, but we were all home Thursday night, effectively home for dinner. So I was here when the tornado happened. It didn't hit where I live. It did hit where I grew up. The devastation, as we talked about, is overwhelming. We can talk more about that later. I'm going to get you over there to see some of the things I think even you should see. But I just think this special session is going to take a lot to get done, because there are a lot of moving parts. The Democrats ended that regular session saying, when we come back in the building, we want a pound of flesh for what we feel we were done wrong by the PQ cutting off our ability to debate. All those are up in the air. Don't know where they land. We won't know where they land until we actually start this special session on Monday.
I'll tell you where we're going to pick up the conversation next week, Rodney, is you and I have talked about this for years, and we've been frustrated at the end of many sessions, and it's always been sort of the understanding that once the session is over, that's it. You got to wait till next year for anything else to get done, no matter how big the issue is. And for all of a sudden to be dealing with a special session in 2025, it makes me, and I think a lot of other people, go, wait a minute, we could have done this all along. We could have. Yeah. I was always told that, if it's not done by mid-May when the session ends, you just have to wait, even if it's a huge issue like IP reform or the Second Amendment or something like that. And so now I'm looking around going, and I think many others are saying, wait a minute, we could have. There were other ways to try to get these big issues resolved that weren't resolved.
I do want to throw one just fact out there.
Please.
I think the last time we had a special session in this state was 2019. I remember correctly. Could have been 18, but 2018 or 19. And the issue then was around crime and public safety. And if you remember, Governor Parson called that session. And a big part of it was trying to do a crime and public safety, and part of it was trying to remove or give some kind of concurrent jurisdiction to the state attorney general so that they could take over the office and the prosecutor's office in the city. And that special session was a tough one, and it ultimately did not work because the Senate passed the package and the House refused to accept it, and they signed off without getting anything done. And then prior to that, I think you got to go back to like 2016 or something like that, where they did a special session to keep Ford in Clay County, Missouri, and they were successful, or Boeing or something like that. So these are rare. So I'm just saying, if you go back over the last probably 7-8 years, we've had maybe 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
2 were successful. 1 was not successful. And so that's kind of what you and your listeners have to keep in mind when we think about special sessions. They're very rare. And depending on how this one goes, we may not have another special session called by a governor for the next, who knows, right?
Right. Or we could be opening up Pandora's box, which is another scary thought.
Yeah.
But
no, absolutely.
A conversation for a different time, Rodney. Thank you, as always, for your time. I was going to ask you about the tornadoes. You brought them up.
Let's put some time to talk a little bit about the tornadoes. I'm going to send you some information for you and your listeners on some of the stuff I've been involved with. I'll get that to you today. This is, like I said, going to be a very long recovery, my friend. I want your listeners to understand parts of the city that were devastated. We're going to be talking about what recovery looks like for the next half of a decade, if not longer.
Well, we definitely want to do what we can to help. So please keep me informed.
I will get you some information and just ask you to share it with your listeners.
And we do still have up on our website, newstalkstl.com. We still have right on the front page, the first banner you see is help those affected by the May 16th storm. If people still want to get involved and make financial donations, we've listed several organizations that are keeping the money, they're doing the right thing with the money. You can make the decision which one you want to support or donate to. But all that information is on our website. So Rodney Boyd,
Tony,
thank you.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
okay.
Great stuff.
All right.
Thank you. We'll talk to you again soon. That is Missouri political insider Rodney Boyd. And just when you think it's over, there's going to be a slow news period, at least when it comes to state politics. They bring you back in, and
just when you think it's over, the governor reels you back in.
Drag you back in, and we've got this very controversial special session right around the corner. I've got a little bit of reaction, Stella, and some things I want to ask you about that we just learned from Rodney before we switch topics. So we'll do that in just a moment. And then also, as I said, going to fill you in about this new report that says that Joe Biden was unaware of various climate bills that were signed by his auto pen. So if this report is accurate, it would mean that not only was somebody else signing the president's name with that auto pen, but that he wasn't even aware of the legislation that his name was being signed to. So we will fill you in on that as well as we roll through a busy Wednesday afternoon here on Colombo and Company.
Feel the breeze deep on the inside, look you down into your well. If you can, you see the world in all its light.
News, analysis, opinion.
They're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
Some of the biggest decisions that you make as a parent, as somebody who is starting a family or that has a family, is all of your healthcare decisions. And, your dentist is a big part of that. You guys have heard me talk about our family dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care many times. You've heard Dr. Boscia here on the air with us. If you are someone who is currently looking for a new dentist for yourself or your family, I highly recommend you check out Dr. Boscia and New Creation and see if they are right for you like they are for our family. They are basically a one-stop shop for all your dental needs, from the very basic to the more complicated. One of the procedures that we have been really highlighting lately, because it's just incredible that you can get this done so relatively quickly, and with the dentist and team that you trust there at New Creation Dental Care, is the all-on-4 full arch implant procedure. This is full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor fitting dentures. If you've had a problem in this area and have looked into it in the past, and it was something that was, going to take, a long period of time and be extremely expensive, check out what they're doing, what Dr. Boscia is offering at New Creation Dental Care, because thanks to some evolutions in technology and things like that, we have come a very long way. You can actually learn more and see some amazing smile makeovers just by going to their website. Learn about the all-on-4 procedure and see everything that Dr. Boscia and his team can do for you and your family right now just by going to newcreationdentalcare.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for O'Fallon Family Floors, o'fallonfamilyfloors.com. Brian and his team, they're just amazing people. They're so proud of their operation. Pride in every installation. You can see that in the Google reviews. Pride in the great quality, pride in the great pricing, pride in the great variety, and pride in the fact that you can go into the store right off of Highway K in O'Fallon, or the store will come to you. That's the promise of O'Fallon Family Floors, o'fallonfamilyfloors.com.
Hey, Mike Ferguson here, and for nearly 40 years, Nutrition Stop has been St. Peter's trusted source for natural living. They've got a great, knowledgeable staff offering more than just products. They provide guidance on your wellness journey with exceptional service, from 100% grass-fed meats like elk and bison and local produce to quality supplements and clean household products. 4101 Mexico Road in St. Peter's, just off the interstate at Cave Springs and Highway 70.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
I am an atheist. I really am a liberal, but I'm also a conservative.
No matter your side.
I'm a Democrat. I'm just a bit angry, frustrated conservative.
No matter your inclination.
I'm probably a liberal, maybe more in the middle.
We are here for your place to talk about it.
I'm the progressive liberal Democrat that you said is afraid to call you.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
And I'm sure we'll have a robust conversation.
News Talk STL.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
Trump is ramping up the pressure on the European Union. Get on board or you expect more tariffs.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
I remember when I lost my mind.
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Thanks again to Rodney Boyd for joining us in that last segment. Really interesting conversation there, still, about this special session that the Missouri lawmakers are about to embark on. And we talk to Rodney every Wednesday, so we'll get an update from him again next week, which is always just so helpful. And tomorrow, we're going to talk to Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks to get more insights on this. But I think one of the biggest parts of this conversation still that people need to be aware of, and that we touched on there in that conversation with Rodney, is that the people in Kansas City were asked about this in an election. And they said no to subsidies and taxes being used to build stadiums for billionaires and these sports teams. These are the people that will be affected by this the most and that live in the community. They don't support this.
You know, so Kathy and I
were very difficult for me to support it or understand
I agree.
The motivation for the governor to call a special session for this purpose.
Kathy and I were in Kansas City and Independence over the weekend, over the Memorial Day holiday weekend. And I intentionally asked some of the folks around there. Sure, we stayed at a hotel, but the employees working there are local folks. And, chatted with them a little bit, chatted with some other folks around town. They were very ambivalent about the sports stadium issue.
Yeah.
And I think maybe even pretty surprised that Kehoe had actually taken this step to say, yeah, let's go ahead and see what we can do to get something done, because they did not show a whole lot of interest.
Well, and as I admitted to Rodney, and he admitted the same, that not experts on, and maybe Justin will be able to shed some light on this tomorrow. I understand that they raise a lot of money. I understand there's a lot of tax money generated by those teams being in Missouri, and all of this revenue that is generated that stays in the state of Missouri if those stadiums are right there, are on the Missouri side. However, if you live in that, I understand the ambivalence that you encountered in the community, because they're not leaving. They're just going across the street.
Yes.
So all the people that have, Chief or Royals season tickets or anything like that,
Paraphernalia, memorabilia. It's not going to make
they're
any
not going to
difference.
miss any games. They're not going to, doesn't change their drive to the games. It doesn't change, anything for them. It's all right there still in the community and all of that. And I have to imagine that a lot of the businesses, the nightlife, the bars, the restaurants, the other venues that benefit from having those stadiums right there are still going to have that benefit. I'm sure there are places on the Kansas City side right now that benefit from the stadiums being right there, just like there would be vice versa, that there still be a lot of Missouri businesses, restaurants, entertainment venues, and things like that will continue to benefit from being right next to the stadiums, because they're not really going very far.
I will say, while we were there, and folks in St. Louis may not realize this, there is a crime problem in downtown Kansas City.
Oh, yeah.
And they've been fighting it for the past few years. It's gotten progressively worse. While we were there over the weekend, every single newscast led off with either a Kansas City crime issue or a St. Louis crime issue, and also the tornado in St. Louis. I thought it was kind of interesting. On the other side of the state, some of the newscasts led off with a St. Louis story.
Yeah.
But still, that issue of crime there seems to be a real sore spot. We have friends who moved from Kansas City to the St. Louis area. They live out by us in Herman, and they left. I think they lived in Olathe, Kansas, and the issues of crime were at the top of the list for them. They just couldn't handle it.
Speaking of the tornado, and the tornado relief, from my years of covering politics, have become very, very jaded and very, very cynical. So I can't help but hear a part of the voice in my head saying that the only reason that the governor is putting tornado relief into part of this special session is to bring more validity to calling a special session, because it is so rare to do so, and to just do it for stadiums, I don't think is a good enough reason in the eyes of many people. But if you can take advantage of a tragedy, an emergency situation in your state, and add that to it, it brings validity to that special session.
I'll be honest with you. When I heard that they were coupled together, I agree with you. That was my first thought.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to justify.
My brain works like that.
But I think you're right.
But after years of covering politics and seeing just how the swamp works, whether it be Washington, D.C. or Jeff City,
you
can't help but
and whether it's Democrat or Republican doesn't matter.
No, absolutely not. Like I said, we will get more insight and continue the discussion about the special session and how we think it may play out. How long is it going to last? What is the impact overall going to be to the state when we talk to Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks tomorrow afternoon? Let's get into some of the national headlines of the day in just a moment. I want to update you on that auto pen situation. Also, Judge Janine was sworn in today and made a pledge right after being sworn in as the interim U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C. She pledges, no, speaking of crime, no more mercy for criminals in the nation's capital.
Good.
So we'll tell you about those stories and more next here on Colombo and Company.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space. And when you're out there without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the Morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Colombo and Company, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL.
If you have a electrical need at your home or business, or you have an electrical project that you are planning at your home or business, there is no better team to call than the team at Grasser Electric. And I can speak to this from personal experience. We discovered the team at Grasser a few years ago when we bought our new house and had them out to help with things like moving some light fixtures. And then since then, we've had a couple of electrical problems here and there and small projects. And every time we have called the team at Grasser, they have just been outstanding. The techs at Grasser are exactly the type of professionals that you want in your home working on something as important as your electrical needs. And it's important to remember that Grasser specializes in all electrical needs, ranging from large-scale commercial projects all the way down to simple home service needs like replacing a bad light switch. They also offer free quotes for new projects. So if you have an electrical problem or just need a quote for new work, call Grasser Electric now. Learn more and contact them by going to the website grasserelectric.com.
Start your summer with a weekend showdown. Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers roll into Busch Stadium June 6th through the 8th. Be there Friday for a cool new promo, the first ever Cardinals neck fan. Perfect for hot game days. Then on Sunday, young fans 15 and under take home a Rawlings Kids glove. It's a weekend of big matchups and big giveaways. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Mason Wynn, St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Catch a Cardinals game on your next date night or friends night out. Whether it's love in the stands or laughter with your crew, nothing beats ballpark vibes under the lights. Cold drinks, great eats, and Cardinals baseball. Check out Friday Night Live at Busch Stadium and enjoy happy hour price food and drinks all game long. Every Friday home game. Get your tickets today at cardinals.com and make memories that go beyond the scoreboard. Busch Stadium, where great nights begin.
This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com. News, analysis, opinion.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. In the 3 o'clock hour, we are going to talk to JC Corcoran, the host of the Wayback Machine, brand new show here on News Talk STL. Also has a very cool event coming up this weekend that we are going to talk about. Also, we're going to open up Klose's Kabinet at just after 3 o'clock, so just a few minutes from now. We'll have some fun with Mark Klose from KC95 and Skip Weber from Weber Chevrolet. First, let's talk about Joe Biden and the auto pen, Stell. If nothing else, this new report highlights the need to get some answers on the auto pen situation. So this new report is from Power the Future, a nonprofit organization that advocates for American energy jobs. It reviewed 8 Biden executive orders that it says were significant shifts in domestic energy policy and said it found no evidence of the president speaking about any of these policies or pieces of legislation publicly, raising concerns or questions about them or talking about them in any way, which makes this group very concerned that the orders, which were signed by the auto pen, were things that Joe Biden was not even aware of. In a statement, Power of the Future said, quote, "These are not obscure bureaucratic memos. These were foundational shifts in American energy policy, yet not once did Joe Biden speak about them publicly." The executive orders reviewed by Power of the Future include an Arctic drilling ban in 2023, a 2021 executive order committing the federal government to net zero emissions by 2050. How ridiculous is that? An executive order mandating clean energy AI centers and an offshore drilling ban executive order shortly before leaving office in 2025. Finding no evidence of Biden publicly speaking about the executive orders on climate, Power of the Future sent letters this week to the DOJ, the EPA, the DOI, the DOE, along with House and Senate oversight committees, calling for an investigation to determine who made the decisions, drafted the executive orders, and ultimately signed them. They said, quote, "In light of the growing evidence and actions purportedly taken by the former president may not have been approved or signed by him, but instead by a small group of advisors in his name without his knowledge using auto pen." They brought up if you remember, there was a meeting that Mike Johnson talked publicly about toward the end of where he said, "I had this meeting with the president about a specific piece of legislation, and after about 3 minutes, it became clear to me that the president had no idea what we were talking about."
And Mike kept asking.
Yeah.
2 or 3, maybe 4 times. "Do you remember signing that?"
So they
No.
brought that conversation and that experience up in their letters and in their statement about this, saying, like, here's a public example that lends credence to the idea of Joe Biden not knowing various pieces of legislation or executive orders or policy changes that were taken during his presidency that he, quote unquote, he signed using that auto pen. The statement from Power of the Future concluded saying, quote, "During the Biden administration, hundreds of billions of dollars were funneled towards pet green projects while the American fossil fuels industry was punished, and there is no evidence that Biden ordered it, directed it, or was even aware it was happening in his name. The American people deserve to know who is signing the executive orders behind closed doors." And again, if nothing else, they don't have the smoking gun proof of this here.
The smoking pen.
But but it is more anecdotal evidence, and I think plenty of suspicions to warrant a full-blown investigation to see what the truth is when it comes to Joe Biden and the auto pen and who was signing the orders. And
I see no way that they can
any
justify any of those auto pen signings. I'm totally skeptical of anything that was done. We know the people that surrounded him, that really close-knit group of 4. I believe some folks, including Jake Tapper, called them the Politburo that surrounded Biden.
Yeah.
And those individuals were involved with this stuff. Nobody said anything, and if they were asked, they denied it.
And these bills went, all the ones that were looked into by Power of the Future, or all the way from 2021 to 2025. So just scattered throughout his presidency, not just there at the very end. And if you uncover evidence that the auto pen was inappropriately used once, do you have to wipe them all out?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out legally.
I think
it's very possible.
Make the case for that.
I think so.
A couple minutes left here. Let's talk about Judge Jeanine Pirro. She was sworn in today as the interim U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C.
Yay!
Pledged right after the ceremony, no more mercy for criminals. Judge Jeanine Pirro took the oath of office to serve as the interim U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C. during an event in the Oval Office today. After being sworn in, Pirro stated, quote, "We need to send a message that justice will be honored in the District of Columbia. My voice should be heard loud and clear. No more tolerance of hatred. No more mercy for criminals. Violence will be addressed directly with the appropriate punishment, and this city will again become a shining city on a hill in an America that President Trump has promised to make great again and will make safe again." Pirro specifically addressed the recent murder of 2 Israeli embassy staffers on the streets of Washington during her address, and she vowed that justice would be brought to, quote, "the cold-blooded murderer who was responsible." So,
someone's got to put their stiletto heel shoe down, and it's Judge Janine. I'm excited to see what she's going to do.
I am too. I like it. She's saying all the right things, and I hope that she is able to accomplish what she is setting out to do, because that would be Washington, D.C., we talk a lot about the problems in Chicago because it's so close. And of course, our city, in the city of St. Louis and all the problems here. But Washington, D.C. is a mess also. And it's been, in a downhill slide for a long time. So if she is able to turn things around in the nation's capital, that would be a huge accomplishment.
And granted, I understand it won't be easy because you've got 95% Democrats in D.C., so they will fight back as much as possible. But I'm excited to see what
fight
she can
on the
do.
side of criminals. Isn't that crazy? Speaking of that, real quick, we'll get into this a little bit later on. We don't have time to do the whole thing right now. But AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, has renewed her call to abolish ICE, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. She said, quote, "I believe that ICE, an agency that was formed in 2003 during the Patriot Act era, is a rogue agency that should not exist." She is now fundraising. And in this report that I read today, she's referred to over and over as the potential 2028 presidential candidate.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
Those words are used over and over again. Potential 2028 presidential candidate. AOC sent out an email to her supporters calling for money, asking for donations, but also doubling down on her plan to abolish ICE. So on one side, you've got Janine Pirro saying enough is enough. Criminals won't be tolerated. Crime won't be tolerated anymore. No mercy shown on criminals. And on the other side, you've got AOC saying that a law enforcement agency needs to be abolished.
You thought it was tough with cackling Kamala.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, my.
All right, we're going to lighten things up, have a little fun with Klose's Kabinet next.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Are you sitting on hidden treasure? Manchester Coin and Jewelry wants to turn your valuables into cash. We're Missouri's premier gold buyers and jewelry specialists with years of expertise. We offer top dollar for your coins, antiques, precious metals, and collectibles. From gold and silver to clocks and jewelry, we buy it all. Don't let your treasures collect dust. Let Manchester Coin and Jewelry give you the best value. Visit online at buyingvaluables.net or come see him today at 141 in Manchester and tell him Newstalk STL sent you.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. 3 big hours of great tunes from the 90s, 80s, and 70s. Plus, take you back to the best years of your past.
This week, we'll remember the great Rick Derringer, and our A-list interview is with Elton John. Plus, you'll hear our exclusive, the first 2 songs from the Billy Joel, Elton John, Busch Stadium concert from August of 1994. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9. On News Talk STL.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli, and my favorite sandwich from Capriati's is the Wagyu beef French dip. So good. It's the au jus that makes it. And the Wagyu beef is pretty good, too. I love Capriati's, and you will, too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is heading to the Shangri-La Dialogue Security Conference in the Far East, which brings together military and government representatives from around the world. In a statement before his departure, the defense secretary says the U.S. has a message for the Indo-Pacific region.
We're going out to Singapore to hold a series of meetings to ensure that region understands America will be strong. We seek no conflict with anybody, including the Communist Chinese, but we will deter that. We will stand strong for our interests.
While there, he's slated to meet with Singapore's prime minister, convene a multilateral meeting of his counterparts from Southeast Asia, and participate in several trilateral and multilateral meetings with his counterparts from several Asian countries. Also at townhall.com, Elon Musk criticizing the centerpiece of President Trump's legislative agenda, saying he's disappointed in what the president calls his big, beautiful bill. Mr. Trump defended the measure by emphasizing the tax cut proposals and saying it's the product of delicate negotiations. A search continues in Arkansas's rugged mountains for a prison escapee and former police chief known as the Devil in the Ozarks.
Grant Hardin has been on the run since Sunday afternoon, when authorities say he impersonated a guard and walked out through the gate of the Calico Rock Prison, a medium security facility. The Arkansas Department of Corrections says Hardin was dressed in clothing that didn't look like a standard inmate or correctional uniform. Hardin has been serving time for murder and rape. His crimes were the focus of a 2023 documentary. In 2016, he briefly worked as police chief in the tiny town of Gateway near the Arkansas-Missouri border. The family of the man Hardin killed in 2017 says they're alarmed by the escape. I'm Donna Warder.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. We've got a wet day on the way for Thursday. Overnight, mostly cloudy and a low of 60 is what we'll wake up to. Rain will move in mid to late morning, continue on and off into the afternoon. A high of just 69. The clouds and the rain keeping the temperature down. So it's going to be a cool and wet day. Some of those showers may linger into the early part of the evening before moving out. We'll dry things out for Friday, which is much warmer. A high of 78 and partly sunny skies for Friday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Fox News commentary.
President Trump is tightening the screws on California over the state's failure to protect women's sports. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
If you need to hire, you know it takes time. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. You simply pick a time and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day.
Try Zip Intro for free at ziprecruiter.com/free. Zip Intro. Post jobs today. Talk to qualified candidates tomorrow.
President Trump signed his executive order protecting women and girls in sports. He was not playing around. California and its governor, Gavin Newsom, apparently didn't get that memo or didn't care, but they're likely about to, because President Trump announced in a lengthy post to Truth Social that he will withhold federal funding to the state if they don't take action to protect the integrity of women's sports. The president also provided the example of the biological male track athlete that recently crushed female athletes in track and field events in Riverside County. This particular trans athlete is currently ranked #1 in the state for triple jump. I wonder why. This is a story that is becoming far too common, and the Trump administration will not stand for it. Protect women and women's sports, or else, California. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here. Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
We had to make, for sad reasons, we had to make a last-minute change to the open of Klose's Kabinet this week. Stell always picks an opening song for our conversation with Mark Klose from KC95, and the sponsor of Klose's Kabinet, Skip Weber from Weber Chevrolet. And we won't tell you what it was supposed to be this week because we're going to do it next week.
Mm-hmm.
But on the sad news that Rick Derringer passed away yesterday, going with a little rock and roll hoochie coo to start things off
from
today.
An album that was released, I believe, late in '73, but this song became a hit in '74. All American Boy, I think, was the name of the album.
And I don't think people realize
how talented he was.
How talented he was, and how many different projects he touched and how many people he worked with. It's not just rock and roll hoochie coo. And for me, Real American, the song that was the Hulk Hogan theme.
Yes.
Which I think is it will forever be tied to Hulk Hogan. But I think that song stands on its own as one of the best rock songs about America, period. It doesn't need any help from Hulk Hogan. But outside of those, there's a lot more that Rick Derringer did in his long career. And so we wanted to kick off the segment with a little Rick Derringer this afternoon. We've got Mark Klose from KC on the line with us. Marker, is that you out with the birds?
I'm here, brother, tweeting in the background. On the porch, enjoying the nice weather.
Good. And Skip, do we have you on the line?
I'm here.
The gang is all here. Skip, you got any Rick Derringer thoughts, stories?
Yeah, he was so much more than the one. It really is a one-hit wonder. I mean, that's the only song credited to Rick Derringer, unless you are a fan of Christian rock, because he became a Christian rocker in the later years and put out a few Christian rock albums. But if you've ever heard the song "Hang On, Sloopy,"
yep,
that's Rick Derringer, because his first foray into music was with that band, the McCoys, and so he was on that. And then he was a big bud with Edgar Winter. He wasn't in the Edgar Winter group, so when they toured, they didn't have him all the time. Sometimes they may have, but he was on all his albums. Frankenstein, Free Ride, Altamira, all those tunes that Edgar Winter did, Rick Derringer was right there with them. And he was really fun in the early 2000s because he would always join those tours, like the Ringo Starr's All-Star Bands and the hippie fests and things like that, where people would put together people like him. So, he would go on tour, and there was one time when he had a bunch of guitarists. B.B. King was there, Steve Lukather from Toto, who's a great guitarist, was there, Rick Derringer, and a few others, Leslie West from Mountains, some great guitarists that were always like in the back row, but just, unheralded. and they toured, and so those were fun times. He was so good, very, very, very talented, and it goes to show that in the rock and roll industry, sometimes the best talent isn't always what the record companies sign and what the record companies promote.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Mark, any thoughts about Rick Derringer?
Probably one of the first shows. It might have been the first live band I ever saw.
Really?
1966 at the Kiel Auditorium. The Rolling Stones were the headliners. And there was like 3 or 4 other acts on the bill. Stones only played like 35 minutes, kind of like Beatles did. And it was Rick Derringer and the McCoys. Hang On Sloopy, he recorded that with his brother in the band when he was 17. And the song it's a cover. It had been done by some other people. And then the Dave Clark 5 heard it. They were going to record it. They were on their way back to Europe to record it. And they slid the McCoys in real fast. And they were able to knock it out. And it became his signature tune with Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. Mm-hmm. Like Skip was saying, playing with a lot of bands. He's on Steely Dan music. He's played studio work for a million different artists over the years. And he was only 77 years old, and he was still touring, and he could still bring it.
Stel, do you got anything, Rick Derringer?
Well, the one thing that I remember, and Mark and Skip, you may recall this, did he not produce a Weird Al Yankovic album, or maybe a couple of them, or 3?
Yeah.
He was very good friends with Weird Al.
And I remember Rick made a comment about
he won a Grammy.
Won a Grammy. Okay.
For producing Eat It.
Well, that makes sense.
He also played the guitar solo on
Eat It?
On Eat It, the song.
Wow.
He produced the album and played a solo on the song.
Wow.
Go ahead, Skip.
That was like in one of his heydays of being in the background was the 80s. You know, he was very good friends with Weird Al Yankovic. He was very good friends with Cyndi Lauper.
Yes. Yes.
He played on some of Cyndi Lauper's albums, which is not known for their guitar work, but that's what got him into wrestling. If you remember when Cyndi Lauper in the middle of the Mr. T
You're
and
so
Hulk
right.
Hogan versus Ralph, that because of that and his friendship with her, that's when he wrote the wrestling song for Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, the Rock and Wrestling Connection is what it was called. The Rock and Wrestling Connection of the early mid 80s that Cyndi Lauper was such a big part of. You're exactly right. He was behind the scenes. Like I said, I knew about his connection. I knew he was with the McCoys and Hang On Sloopy and Real American and Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. And I knew that he had worked with Weird Al. I didn't realize that he played solo on the song and how much some of that work was. But also, and you guys just pointed out a lot of this, over the years, he did session work with Steely Dan, Todd Rundgren, Kiss, Barbara Streisand.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That's an eclectic. Wow. How about that? And then as Skip just mentioned, he produced for Cyndi Lauper. And also, Skip, you just talked about like being a behind the scenes player and some major 80s music. He played the solo on Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
That's amazing.
See, what's cool is when he's in the middle of the project or he's producing it or he's helping out and they need a guitar solo.
Boom.
Why wouldn't he do it? He was a great guitar player. I mean, when he's helping Weird Al and they want to have a killer guitar, why would you go hire somebody else? Rick just picks up a guitar and shreds it out there and does it.
Yeah.
Amen.
And when you learn all this and you read about this amazing career, you realize that even though he is a well-known, he is a name that people are aware of, I don't think he gets the credit he deserves.
No.
I think Mark, I think if one thing, his death has highlighted is just how involved in the music industry and what a major player he was for so long.
Yeah, very diverse. And he had an album came out 77, I guess, called Guitars and Women. And there's a song on there called Don't Ever Say Goodbye that actually charted. It's got Todd Rundgren doing background vocals on it. And it's a great song. It's a great album. If you ever get a chance, there's 4 or 5 excellent tunes off that album. And like Skip said, was out with Ringo's All-Star Band, and he was diverse. Absolutely.
Yeah. That might be the best album name I've ever heard. Guitars and Women.
Guitars and Women.
Yeah,
Great.
exactly.
Love it.
All right, I've got.
No, yeah. If you
go ahead,
if
Skip,
you
go
like
ahead.
if you like good music and you want to listen to an album that you'll recognize a couple songs, but you won't know the rest of the songs, but the other songs are all good, then you go get Edgar Winter Group's "You Only Come Out at Night" or "They Only Come Out at Night." That's got a couple of his most famous songs, but Rick Derringer very in the middle of thick of things. And could you imagine a group? And none of them are huge, but if you're a rock fan, you know how good they were. But there's an album that you had Edgar Winter, who could play literally every instrument under the sun and very well. But you had Edgar Winter, you had Rick Derringer, and you had Ronnie Montrose all on the same album, making some really good stuff. And that, and he, like I said, he's one of those three. And, people that don't get that deep into music, they don't know about him. And that's kind of sad.
And I will stand by it and put it to the test this 4th of July. It's not that far away, believe it or not. If you're playing music, if you're having a house party or putting on your own little fireworks display and you want to set it to some music, you put on Real American. Forget about Hulk Hogan. Doesn't have to be connected to Hulk Hogan. The song stands on its own. It will be a hit. when nothing draws up patriotism like blasting Real American at full volume, especially if there's fireworks going off in the background. So I stand by that statement. Guys, got a couple of I don't know. I think maybe the highlight of these next two stories are internet surveys are not to be believed, because these both don't seem right to me at all. A DoorDash just released a survey about what is America's favorite burger. Today is National Burger Day, so they released a survey based on their orders across the country of people using DoorDash, and they say, Skip, I'll give you first crack at this one. According to DoorDash, America's favorite burger is a chicken burger. What?
Fake news.
Can we talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah. First of all, no, it's not. That's ridiculous. Now they say they say that only 14 states claim hamburgers or cheeseburgers to be their favorite burger, compared to 17 where chicken burgers were number one. Veggie burgers was number one in 13 states across the country, according to DoorDash, which again, a veggie burger is not a burger, Skip, and a chicken burger is not a burger, Skip. A chicken burger is a chicken sandwich. Why is it in the burger conversation?
Look, here's the deal. Why are you asking DoorDash? Since when are people that are too lazy to leave their house the authorities on what's a great hamburger? Come on.
Right. And
that's maybe what, 10-15% of that burgers eaten are
ordered through DoorDash?
By DoorDash?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. And Mark,
isn't it
a chicken burger a chicken sandwich? Why are we calling it a burger?
Yeah, I mean, you can get a salmon burger too, but you're right. It's a salmon sandwich. The only reason it's called a burger is it's circular. So, they're doing those. Have you seen a pork steak burger? They grind up pork steaks, put it into a burger form and barbecue it. They're good, but it ain't a burger. It's a pork steak sandwich. So you're absolutely right. Burger is burger with meat, and they've had a couple of lawsuits with some of the vegetarian, substitutes calling it a burger. It's like, well, there's no hamburger in it.
Yeah.
It really can't be
a veggie burger's not a burger. A chicken burger's not a burger. And also, Skip, that's the first time I ever was mad at a pork steak.
Exactly.
I don't want to hear about a pork steak sandwich. Pork steaks are the best barbecue meat there is. Don't mess with it by putting on a sandwich. Here's another one. It's not only today, it's one of, if you ever look at the National Day calendar, every day is like 4 or 5 things. So today is National Burger Day. It's also National Sunscreen Day. And according to another survey on the internet, Skip, 36% of Americans said that they are happy to slather up a stranger on the beach if they ask to put on your sunscreen. A stranger. 36% of Americans say if asked, they would sunscreen up a stranger.
If she's cute.
I'm not buying.
Yeah.
What do you think, Skip?
I think I would. I mean, here's the thing. First off,
because you're a superhero.
For the last 10 years, I've used spray-on sunscreen.
Yes.
I don't even rub spray. So
Boom.
you still need help with that if you're going to get your back. And so I'd spray any person that asks me.
Well,
I do that spray.
Yeah, spray is all right.
Slathering in, as long as they didn't, I don't care if it was man or woman, they wouldn't have to be cute as a woman. They just don't have, if they weren't like creepy, they would, if they didn't kind of freak me out.
Right.
Man
Now,
or woman, I would help them with
the
it.
poll does specifically say rub sunscreen on their back. So I don't know that the spray is
that
an
is
option.
a little bit different, but still, I still think I would do it. I would do it sometimes, and it doesn't have to be an attractive person.
I would love to see a candid camera type situation of people going up to Mark Klose on the beach and asking them to rub sunscreen on their back. Go ahead, Mark.
I'll take it a step. I'll take it
You?
a step further.
A step further? You don't say.
Yeah. I wouldn't even do one of you three. And I know you guys. I would catch you with a 10-foot pole. Yeah.
Would you spray? Would you spray?
No. Yeah. Spray yourself. Get away from me.
Even if we gave you $7 to do it? Okay.
I'm not paying to be.
Now we're talking. Yeah. We'll discuss. Let me get my agent on the phone.
Mark,
I was going to say, if I'm on the beach. Yeah. No. Leave me
I
alone.
would help
I don't
you.
want to do anything.
I would help you put sunscreen on your back and your neck because you couldn't reach it. I would not. I would not make you take your socks off that I'm sure you wear on the beach and rub them on your feet.
Oh my God!
Yeah, but
you are a sock guy on the beach, aren't you, Mark? You definitely fit that description.
Yeah, well, that's the good. They're black socks, so they're going to keep the sun out anyway. With some nice sandals, it's a look. So
you jamming the thong like between the big toe, like try with the sock in there, like all uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, that's me. That's me.
One more here, guys. I don't think we talked about this last week. The penny is going away. They're gonna stop making. They're gonna stop making pennies. Mark, you love money. What do you think about that?
Well, but they say it costs 4 cents to make 1 penny.
That doesn't make any sense.
And the question it comes down to is, you go somewhere, are they going to round up or round down? So if something's $4.97, is it automatically $5? And if it's $4.94, is it automatically $4.90? So they didn't say anything about that, did they? About rounding up or down?
No, because they say it's going to take a pretty long time. That just because they're going to stop minting them, there's still a plenty in circulation that it's not going to have an impact for.
And there's so few people that pay with cash anymore, too.
Yeah,
exactly. Right.
I mean, even at drive-throughs and restaurants and stuff, where you used to just pay with, there's still everybody just whips their card out and taps and that kind of stuff, So I think they could go a long time before they run low on pennies.
Yeah, I used to carry at least a little bit of change around either in your pocket or your car for things like parking at a meter. We worked downtown. I worked downtown for so long, or like if you're traveling for tolls. But now that you don't even use change, and of course not even pennies. We're out of that equation a long time ago anyway. But you don't even use change for things like parking meters or tolls anymore. I mean, there's almost no reason to have any change. So I think you're exactly right, Skip.
I'm still trying to get over when they discontinued the mill. Do you remember the mill? You know what a mill is?
No, I don't.
Yeah. 1/10.
Was it 1/10 or 1/2 of a cent?
I think it's 1/10, isn't it?
Okay, I thought it was. Yeah, it was a coin that they produced for a while, and I thought it was a half of a penny, and which is what I used to give family and friends for holidays. But it might have been 1/10, but yeah, that one goes back a few years. So.
Well, the $half and the silver dollar didn't even catch on. So I'm not surprised that one didn't go anywhere. Anybody ever come in, Skip, anymore and pay for a car with just cash? Just walk in, wad of cash, boom, put it down.
Well, they really don't, because if you have $10,000 or more of cash, we have to report it.
Yeah. I don't know anybody that does.
It's a money laundering type thing. So if you had saved a bunch of money in your pillowcase and you had $22,000 and you're buying a $21,640 car, then we got to report that. So even if you have $20,000 and you're wanting to put it down on a $60,000 vehicle, we have to report it. So anything over $10,000, we have to report. Now, if it's legit, it don't matter. It doesn't matter to you. And so people still, it's extra paperwork, and so people just kind of don't do it.
Yeah.
If they want to write a check, that's fine. But using cash. But there is definitely people that still use cash for down payments. They'll come in with $2,000 of cash in cash and do that.
Mm-hmm. What's going on at Weber right now, Skip?
Well, we've got the end of the month, and it goes through this weekend. So we just had our Memorial Day sale. Wonderful weekend, one of our best weekends of the year so far. We weren't open on Monday, so we're making up the ground this week. Got plenty of vehicles. Just check us out, man, because I'm telling you, we have got all the momentum in the world. We're the best reviewed Chevy dealers in the St. Louis area. We have for hundreds of miles, and we've got our pricing reflects what people want, and that's why our numbers are so good. So I think we'll really make you happy. Just give us a shot.
Absolutely, and we're finally getting into that. We're finally, hopefully, getting into like the nice weather and getting back outside, and that that helps out in that regard as well. Check out everything that's happening at all three Weber Chevrolet dealerships, and also don't forget about Weber Ford in Granite City. Marker, what about KC95 and the band? What do you guys got going on?
We're actually kicking off the season, the outdoor, this Tuesday. We're going to be at Faust Park, which is in Chesterfield, where the Butterfly House is and the Carousel. We are the first band are going to be playing, kicking off the concert series Tuesday night, 7 to 9. It's free. You can bring a blanket. You can bring a lawn chair. You can bring a cooler. You can bring whatever you want.
You can bring a beverage. Yeah.
Absolutely. But they've got all kinds of great food and drink available. They even have bingo to go from 6 to 7. Then the band will play from 7 to 9, and that'll kick off our season. We got 8 gigs lined up in June alone.
All right.
So at the end of June, we're either going to be really tight or dead. One or the other, I don't know at this point. So.
And bring suntan lotion, because Mark will take care of you.
Anybody that comes up, I'll slather you up.
These day drinking shows, you need to offer free suntan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're gonna have that day drinking in the summertime. Skip is exactly right. You better have somebody there ready to go with the sunscreen. Skip Weber, Mark Klose, guys, thank you as always for your time. We will talk to you again very soon, boys. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Yeah, you bet. All right. And we are going to keep the conversation going with our next guest. JC Corcoran has a very important event coming up this weekend. JC, of course, the host of the Wayback Machine, brand new show here every Saturday night on News Talk STL. JC's going to join us live in studio next here on Colombo Company.
Is absolutely fantastic. Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
John Bill Roofing reminds you we are in the stormy season, and that means if you have even the smallest leak in your roof, you could soon have a much bigger issue. Call to John Bill to make sure that your biggest investment is protected. That call can save you major dollars. If you do get hit during a storm, John Bill has a rapid response team. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF, John Bill.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
There is a 4-year study that started with 12,000 9-year-olds. The purpose was to find out how much time kids spend on social media and how it affects them. Most of them using TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram. Now, the companies insist users must be at least 13 years of age, but these were 9-year-olds, and if they can get in, they're going to. In the beginning of the study, these kids were maybe on social media, maybe 7 minutes a day. At the end of the study, the average was 73% per day, going from 9 to 14, and now 73% per day. 35% of these kids suffered depression. They had little to no social contact with family or friends, unless through social media. 35% preteens suffering depression, when maybe a day in the sun, at the park, anything other than staring at a TikTok video might have made them happier.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Here's great news. Napoli Kirkwood is now open. So that means fine dining right in the heart of Kirkwood. So you have the original Cafe Napoli in downtown Clayton, Napoli 2, Town and Country, Napoli 3 on the streets of St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C, plus Napoli Brothers Pasta and Pizza in the Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, and now adding Napoli Kirkwood. What a great place to dine. Napoli Kirkwood, now open.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hey, if you're 50 or older, you do not want to take any risk with your money. In fact, you want Leslie Consulting. My friend Bob Leslie can show you a gain and retain plan. Means that you never lose. Plus, you get up to a 20% bonus on day one. Leslie Consulting, a leader in brokerage and risk management. 314-721-0066. LeslieConsulting.com.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
Trump is ramping up the pressure on the European Union. Get on board or you expect more tariffs.
Larry Connors USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
This is so stupid.
St. Louis's.
Okay, I'm hanging up on you now.
Place to talk. News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 119-94.1 News Talk STL. Thanks again to Mark Klose, KC95, Skip Weber from Weber Chevrolet for joining us in that last segment. Klose's Kabinet. And we continue the conversation now with J.C. Corcoran,
returning to the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once again with us here, the Wayback Machine, brand new show that you can hear every Saturday night.
Got a good one. I'm in
STL.
town to help promote the Brian McKenna event,
yes.
which is going to be the bagpipes come out at 2:00. There's going to be a presentation right at 2. The weatherman is saying sunny and 84 degrees on Saturday. I don't know where people are going to park, but get there early, and you don't want to miss the opening of this whole thing. And there'll be some people speaking, some family members, and I'm just emceeing the whole thing. There's a lot of people really busting their butts setting this whole thing up. I'm on stage just trying to tie it all together and, do what I got to do. We got, like we said, we got 7 restaurants, we got 2 bands, a DJ, and a lot of people sort of milling around. Are you familiar with the story about the letter that Brian had left behind?
No, I'm not.
I brought this up one of the other places I was talking to these guys. They didn't know anything about it, because Brian was battling cancer for 10 years. He wasn't really sure what the prognosis was or what things could have taken a bad turn.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't sure. And so he left a letter in the top drawer of his credenza at his apartment. And he told his best friend, Stephanie Bozich, who's the one that's really put this whole thing together, plus along with the family. And he said, if anything ever happens to me, and at that time he was thinking, the cancer, there's a letter in there and you open it up and I want you to do what it says. And it was spelled out in great detail. And so everything that you're going to be seeing and hearing on Saturday, starting at 2, and again, this is down on, they're blocking off Mackland.
Yeah. Remind people where it's at, how they can get information, detail, like all that
St.
stuff.
Louis Police Department is blocking off Mackland at Devonshire, and for a 2-block period there. And that's where everything is going to be all set up with the big stage and the sound system and the whole thing. So, you're important when the police come along and say, we'll shut down the street for you. So,
especially a main artery like Mackland.
Yeah. So that's all happening, but again, it starts at 2:00. So I'm emceeing that
this Saturday. Yeah.
So, but
finally, it looks like we're finally going to get good weather.
Summer.
Yeah.
Sunny and 84.
Just
so
in time.
That happens, that's going to be really, really cool. And then, the Wayback Machine, which is the new radio show, we're going to be doing something really cool this weekend. What I do every week is to kick off the second hour of the 3 hours. We pick a theme and then we play an entire set of songs about the theme, and it is related to Friends this week. And right after that is the JC Celebrity A-List Interview of the Week is with Elton John. And this was in 1988 when he just had gotten married to a woman. People forget that he got married to a woman. And there's a funny story that goes along with it with regard to his house. And I'll just use that as the tease for this whole thing. But right after that, we're talking about hearing. How's your hearing, Stel?
Not too bad.
Yeah. And
good for you.
Considering I've been cranking it up just like you guys for the last 40, 50 years.
We are in this job often assigned to jobs where you're in an orchestra pit, or you're at a rehearsal
or concerts,
at 3:00 in the afternoon or something like that. And sometimes you are really, really close to those speakers.
And just wearing headphones, even if you're not, even if, some of us have the bad habit of turning them up too loud, but even just wearing headphones at normal volume for hours every day.
A lot of us of a certain age, not just in St. Louis, all over the country, friends of mine, people that I talk to, everybody's losing their hearing.
Yeah.
So in any event, the, is just crazy, but I forgot what I was talking about. But what I was able to do in that very first Billy Joel Elton John concert at Busch Stadium, August 4th, I believe, 1988, they did that concert at Busch Stadium, and I had a digital audio tape recorder.
Wow.
And I was able to plug directly into the soundboard.
You had your own DAT machine?
Yeah. And so what I did, I plugged
That's old school.
right into the soundboard. And so I have, as far as I know, and it's been a long time, it's been 30 years, obviously. I have the only recording of the first 2 songs that they did, along with some banter related to St. Louis.
Wow.
That is all on that tape. And so we're going to play the Elton John interview. That'll be at about 7:15 or so. And then coming out of that, you're going to hear those first 2 songs and those conversations between Billy Joel and Elton John. And like I said, I think it's the only recording we have that exists of that. So that's a little special something thing that will be in the 7:00 hour.
I got to say about the Wayback Machine, one of the,
I love that everybody's using the name of it too. I love it. People, it's only been on the air a month. The Wayback Machine. This is I love that.
If you love,
because everybody thinks of Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
Yes.
If you love the music, it's great, and it would be a great show with just the music. But all of that other stuff that
We're
you
pumping
bring,
a lot of pop culture and a lot of really cool stuff into it. So if you have not
and
heard
you have
it,
done such a great job
Thank
of
you.
preserving your work, which there are so many interviews, and there are so many interviews that
I
I have
archived
lost.
everything along the way.
Yeah.
I archived everything. I've got stuff you wouldn't even believe.
And that is so good. It's so great, and it's so beneficial to this show and just history.
And
in
I have
general,
to tell you guys,
to have all that stuff.
Well, I have to tell you that while I was doing all of this and archiving all this stuff, because it was a big pain in the butt to do. It took a lot of time.
Yeah.
Those were the analog days.
Yeah.
Now you can take something.
Recording in real time.
Yeah. I mean, because of digital technology,
Yeah.
Stell, when I'm done here, can have this on the web in 5 minutes.
It didn't used to be like that.
Back in those days, you had to sit there and just wait it out. If something was 15 minutes, it took you 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I archived all of this stuff, and little by little, we're sort of letting it out. But the point I was trying to make is I didn't even really know why I was doing it at the time. You just sort of think to yourself, Johnny Carson, he always used to look at Ed McMahon and say, never throw anything out. And when I was a kid, I didn't know what that meant, but it sounded good to me. So I just started preserving everything. And so I archived everything. And here it is 30, in some cases, 40 years later. And people are like, where? The question I get more than anything is, where did you get that?
Yeah.
And I have to tell them, it's
yours.
It's mine.
Yeah. It's yours.
People always think that where can I download that? It's like, mine.
Yeah.
I'll have friends of mine ask, JC plays that stuff. What would you consider it? And I said, to me, it's audio garnish. It's extra on the.
I like it.
It's on the plate. It's part of dinner, and it's the garnish that's around.
Radio parsley.
Maybe it's because I came up in the restaurant business, but
it just makes the whole show even better. Like I said, it would be the music. It would be good enough, but all the additional pop culture and memories and
if people are wondering, by the way, like, what is the big deal with the music? I haven't heard the show. What's the big deal with the music? The explanation is this. The big corporate-owned radio stations, they have their 350 song playlists, and that's it. So we started 351, and it's like, because you go to a concert and Cheers for Fears plays Shout. Everybody rises to their feet. You don't hear that song on the radio anywhere anymore because it doesn't make the cut, that 350 song cut. So that's what we do. We'll probably never play Everyone Wants to Rule the World, but we will play Shout. And I can give you all sorts of examples like that of songs that are basically album tracks. That's what we used to call them. You used to drop the needle, 2-3, remember records? No,
indeed.
2-3 songs, 2-3 cuts into the album, and you're like, well, that's really good. Like I'm playing Tusk by Fleetwood Mac. When's the last time you heard that on the radio? It's probably been 40 years. So that's what we do musically, and then we pump that history, pop culture, St. Louis history, an old Glicks commercial, or the Ultra Mall or something like that.
Mr. Guy.
So
Mr. Guy.
you hear all that sort of stuff along with the music. 6 to 9.
That's it.
Every Saturday night over most of this same radio station.
Right here on News Talk STL, the Wayback Machine with JC Corcoran.
By the way, go ahead. I can't wait to hear that DAT tape with Billy Joel and Elton John.
And we'll see you Saturday at 2.
Yes, absolutely. Good. JC, thanks for coming in. Good luck with a great event this weekend, and thanks for coming in with us today.
You bet.
Good to see you. All right, that's going to do it. We will be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Keep it here. In the meantime, the O'Reilly Report is next to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show right here on News Talk STL.
Start your summer with a weekend showdown. Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers roll into Busch Stadium June 6th through the 8th. Be there Friday for a cool new promo, the first ever Cardinals neck fan. Perfect for hot game days. Then on Sunday, young fans 15 and under take home a Rawlings Kids Glove. It's a weekend of big matchups and big giveaways. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Mason Wynn, St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou. The school year is finally over and it's summer vacation for all our teachers. Celebrate at Busch Stadium. Teachers Night presented by Millipore Sigma is back at the ballpark on Monday, June 9th. With the purchase of a special theme ticket, you can take home an exclusive Teachers-inspired Cardinals jersey featuring the birds on a pencil. As a special treat, the first drink of the summer is on the Cardinals. That's Monday, June 9th. Teachers Night at the ballpark. For tickets and details, visit cardinals.com/theme.
This is Steven Matz, St. Louis Cardinals for the Loop.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
Nate Lucas here for the Village Bar in the heart of Des Peres. Since 1948, the Village Bar has been the go-to destination for delicious food, cold drinks, and unbeatable atmosphere. Savor their famous